Good late at night, everybody, and welcome back to another Mad Meta Magic. I'm going to be trying to do a few of these for a while because we were doing tryharding. So we're going to try and do Mad Meta. I was going to start off with a brew, but I have not had any time to brew. I have a few ideas for some brews kicking around in my head. Bone Daddy brought up a few in the chat in the Discord. So if you guys want to help make some decks, you want to help generate some ideas for decks, the Discord's a great place to do that. Link should be in the description below if you want to join. It's open to anybody right now. But today we're going to be playing Enchantress. This is a 5-0 list, and Enchantress is clocking in at like less than 1% of the metagame right now, somewhere in that neighborhood. But it should be pretty fun to play. So the idea here is we play a bunch of enchantment synergies, enchantment creatures. We give our enchantment shroud. We can tutor up enchantments as we need them. We can get a whole bunch of extra mana from Sanctum Weaver, which is just Sarah's Sanctum on a land. And then we can dump all of that land into Destiny Spinner, which says creature and enchantment spells you control can't be countered. So the whole deck, basically. We can start animating our lands into huge beat sticks and beating our opponent with it. We have a couple of Oblivion Ring effects in the form of Banishing Light and Oblivion Ring. We have Solitary Confinement, which is a very, very strong kind of... I mean, it's kind of a prison engine, but not really. So Solitary Confinement says at the beginning of your upkeep, you can sacrifice it unless you discard a card. You skip your draw steps, you can't get any new cards. And then you have Shroud, and you can't take damage. But we can circumvent that with Enchantress's Presence. So by casting enchantments, we can draw a lot more cards. We also have Sithis, Harvest's Hand, which is another, whenever you cast an enchantment, draw a card. And Abundant Growth, which is a cantripping enchantment that fixes our mana. We're also splashing red for Blood Moon. And that's basically the whole deck. Yeah, Sterling Grove is just greater Oromancy, but also you can kind of Enlighten Tutor, or what is that? Is it Enlighten Tutor? Or Idyllic Tutor? Idyllic Tutor is the 3-mana one. Enlighten Tutor is the 1-mana one. But Enlightened Tutor, I think, also grabs artifacts. Anyway, out of the sideboard, we have Rest in Peace for Grave Hate, Stony Silence for Artifact and Affinity Hate, Leyline of Sanctity for face targeting stuff, anti-hate, Prismatic Ending because we're playing 3 to 5 colors depending on how you count Abundant Growth, Veil of Summer because it's a really good green spell, Seal of Primordium, just because it's naturalized, that's also an enchantment, and an Emrakul if we need an Emrakul to win the game. So, I really have no idea how to play this deck, and I haven't tested it, so let's go ahead and jump right into a competitive league, shall we? And I will see you all in round 1. Also, apologies, I'm currently recording this in the middle of a thunderstorm, so it looks like for round 1 we're going to be on the draw, and I think this is a keep. Opponent leads on Spirebluff Canal. We draw Destiny Spinner. Let's go ahead and Abundant Growth and draw a card. Pass the turn. Another Abundant Growth. Opponent is going to cycle Desert Ceradon. They untap. They play a Scalding Tarn. We untap. Draw Sanctum Weaver. I think we play Sanctum Weaver. Pass the turn. Opponent cycles another Ceradon and a Street Wraith. We can answer exactly one creature if we on Thin Ice. But if my opponent has like Electro Dominance here for Living End, we are probably screwed. Okay, we untap. We draw Hall of Heliod's Generosity. So play the Hall. I don't know if Blood Moon matters. Abundant Growth. Draw a card. Abundant Growth. You know, I probably should have played the Blood Moon first, and then put on the Abundant Growths. It only works for it only matters for non-basic lands, I guess. Go ahead and draw. Add a bunch of red mana. Blood Moon. I guess I should have played out Destiny Spinner to make this Blood Moon uncounterable. I was going to fetch up a basic island. And I should have tapped that for green. Alright, pass the turn. We're learning. Don't worry, we're learning. Okay, we untap, we draw another Blood Moon, play a Forest, White-green, play Sithis. Then we play Destiny Spinner, gaining life and drawing a card. Draw land. Add a bunch of red. Play a Blood Moon, draw a card. They're on thin ice. Alright. Then next turn we make, like, all of our lands into lethal creatures. When it cycles Waker of the Waves. Then cycles a Street Wraith. They untap. I've got a feeling we're going to get Electro Dominance and be very sad. Or not. We beat them. Just like we drew it up, everybody. Okay, so... I think we bring in Rest in Peace. Do we bring in anything else? Emrakul really seems achievably castable off of Sanctum Weaver. That card seems pretty good. I don't think we need Leyline of Sanctity in this matchup. Veil of Summer, possibly, if they're playing counterspells, but I don't know that they're playing counterspells. So what do I take out for Rest in Peace? Maybe like an Enchantress's Presence and a Banishing Light? Try it like this. So just like looking at this deck list, at least for me, and this is me speaking on my behalf, it didn't seem very high power, but I mean any mana production effect on par with Sarah's Sanctum is definitely potentially bustable at worst. So this seems good. I'm gonna keep this. Put back 1 Abundant Growth. So we can go Windswept Heath into a basic forest, Abundant Growth, then Sterling Grove or Sanctum Weaver. Probably Sterling Grove. Okay, opponent starts Scalding Tarn. We draw Blood Moon. Fetch Forest. Abundant Growth. We draw Prismatic Vista. Excellent. Opponent cycles a Street Wraith. Cracks Scalding Tarn. Gets a Steam Vents untapped. And cycles a Ceradon. Opponent untaps, plays a Misty, and passes. We draw another Forest. So we can either go for the Sanctum Weaver, or we can play Sterling Grove. And I think we play Sterling Grove. Because, like, we could, if we land a Blood Moon, or we could just tutor up the Rest in Peace if they don't, like, As Foretold Living End us, which is very possible. Don't shock the breeding pool. Don't... That probably means As Foretold. I only have 1 removal spell with On Thin Ice as well. I don't have... Okay. Well, we drew Rest in Peace. So, play Prismatic Vista. Fetch. Get a Plains. Rest in Peace. Okay, Violent Outburst. So they're going to get multiple Ceradons and a Street Wraith. Well, we can answer one of those. I can sack Sterling Grove to get another On Thin Ice. But we really need a Enchantress effect to take full advantage here. This opponent goes to combat. They're going to attack us for 9. They're going to evoke Foundation Breaker, so we can't tutor on our upkeep for another On Thin Ice. That is less than ideal, I would say. We untap. I think we need, like, Sithis. Abundant Growth might technically work. So Abundant Growth the Plains. Draw Forest. Play Temple Garden tapped. And a Sanctum Weaver, which we will have to chump Ceradon with. When it plays an island, goes to combat, attacks us for our life total. Block here, take 3, go to 6. Then we untap. We draw Stomping Ground, and that's game. So if my opponent is actually cascading, they're probably not playing counter spells. So I probably don't need the Veil of Summer. All right, yeah, let's run it back and try and just like Greater Oromancy, a Rest in Peace. All right, I would like to play first. This is a turn 2 Rest in Peace on the play with some cantripping, so I think I'm good with this. We'll start basic land, Abundant Growth, Destiny Spinner. I like Destiny Spinner. Opponent leads on Island. We draw Temple Garden. Play a Forest. Let's go Rest in Peace. I guess this is bad if they have Foundation Breaker here. Or like a Void Snare. Some kind of bounce effect. They're going to cycle Curator of Mysteries. Okay. That tells me that they're missing something that they need to get now. We untap. We draw Solitary Confinement. So, play Windswept Heath. Crack Windswept Heath. We'll get a basic Plains. And cast Enchantress's Presence. Pass the turn. Then we just need to start drawing enchantments, which is 90% of our deck, so... Opponent fetches up Steam Vents, bounces Enchantress's Presence with Brazen Borrower. We untap. We draw Rest in Peace, number 2. Replay the Presence. They force it. Okay. Temple Garden tapped. Pass the turn. They cycle a Ceradon. And they untap. They play a Scalding Tarn. We untap. Draw an Abundant Growth. So play Prismatic Vista, fetch, Forest, Abundant Growth of Forest, play Destiny Spinner, then play Rest in Peace, number 2. Okay. So we're reasonably well protected from the Living End game plan, but if they're transforming into the token generator, Crashing Footfalls, we might be in trouble. Shardless Agent. They could cast Living End as an Edict here. That's not wholly unreasonable. That is exactly what happens. We untap. Draw Forest. I don't know that we on Thin Ice a 2/2, and we definitely don't cast Solitary and Confinement, not without an ability to draw a lot of cards. Or Desperation to, like, Fog. When it hits us for 2, we go to 16. We untap. We draw Blood Moon. Okay. Take them off of green mana, as well as double blue, unless they have a counterspell. They're going to flash Brazen Borrower. That's fine. I think I'm going to on Thin Ice that Borrower, just to slow the clock down. It's still tempting to try and draw an Enchantress effect, but they play a Mountain. Like, we could still die to our opponent just getting 6 mana and playing Ceradons. Or equivalent. When it hits us for 2, we go to 14. We untap. We draw on Thin Ice. I think I am okay with them hitting us for 2 for a couple more turns. I would really like to draw an Enchantress and then immediately cash that on Thin Ice in for value. Okay, they yeet Blood Moon back to our hand. They crack Scalding Tarn. They get an island. And they're going to cycle a Windcaller Aven. Okay. Well, in theory, we're still only taking 2 here. If they play something big, we can put it on ice. They hit us for 2. We go to 12. Then they play a Curator of Mysteries. We untap. There's the Presence. Okay. So play the Presence. I would like to play the Blood Moon, however, I think we need to take out the Curator. If I draw a land, I'll play the Blood Moon. I will play Sanctum Weaver. Exile the Curator. Play our Mana Dork. We draw another Sanctum Weaver. Pass the turn. Well, things are looking very up for us. The draw engines in this deck, definitely critical. When it goes to combat, they're going to attack us for 2. Definitely not blocking. If they want Sanctum Weaver dead, they have to do something. They have to actually spend mana to kill it. 4 mana, opponent hardcasts a Foundation Breaker, killing our draw engine, which is really sad for us. We untap. We draw another Enchantress's Presence, which is amazing. So, play the Presence. Float green. Draw card. Sterling Grove. Excellent. Play Sterling Grove. Get an Abundant Growth. Abundant Growth, a land that doesn't have it yet. Utopia Sprawl. Draw a card. It's Utopia Sprawl, a white. Yeah, let's put Utopia Sprawl on white. Utopia Sprawl again. Ooh. Do red. Float mana. Greater Oromancy. Everything's got Shroud. Then we can Blood Moon into another Utopia Sprawl. Sprawl here on white. Play Windswept Teeth as an actual Blood Moon. Alright, pass the turn. Everything has Shroud. We have 1,000,000 mana. We just need a second Enchantress effect to play a Solitary Confinement. No blocks. Take 4, go to 6. Now I could sack Sterling Grove on our upkeep, or really at any time, I guess. So we did not draw. So yeah, let's go ahead and sack this and get a... Their counterspell of choice was Force of Negation. I'm going to get Sithis. Then we can cast Sanctum Weaver. Draw Sithis. Play Sithis. Draw another card. Another Blood Moon. Add a whole bunch of white mana. Play Solitary Confinement. Now we can start drawing multiple cards. And the game is over. We were just going to try and draw till we hit a Destiny Spinner and basically build our own Emrakul lands. That'd be sweet. Alright, well, I didn't know what I was doing and bumbled into a victory, so I'll see you guys in round 2 where I'll have a little bit more knowledge and hopefully a little bit more strategy. Alright, we're on the play for round 2. And no Enchantress effect. We do have a Destiny Spinner. I don't know what a good hand looks like for this deck yet. I think I'm going to mulligan. Okay, I shouldn't have mulliganed. Now I have to go to 5. Alright, we'll keep. Put back On Thin Ice, and I guess Sterling Grove. We'll keep the 2 more broken effects. Yeah, Abundant Growth. Okay, we draw Blood Moon, pass the turn. Opponent plays a Spire Bluff Canal and passes. We draw an Abundant Growth. Play Windswept Teeth. Crack for Plains. Play Sithis. Opponent Thought Scours themselves, milling a Snapcaster Mage and a Polluted Deltas. This might be Delver. They untap. They play an island, and they pass. We untap, draw Sterling Grove. So, cast Sterling Grove, gain a life, and draw. Or cast Abundant Growth, I mean. That did not work out how I wanted it to. Pass the turn. I'm not attacking into open mana. They could just, even flash a Snapcaster to block, and that would be devastating. Opponent mills a counterspell and an island, then opts. Okay. They play a Flooded Strand. They Lightning Bolt Sithis. Crack Flooded Strand for an island. Oh, is this the Murktide Regent? Kind of looking that way. Yup. Big old 7/7. We untap. We draw Prismatic Vista. Play Prismatic Vista. Blood Moon doesn't do a whole lot here. So, crack Prismatic Vista, get a Forest. And I'm going to play Sanctum Weaver. Pass the turn. It's unlikely that Sanctum Weaver lives, because my opponent left Lightning Bolt in the grave. So if they have Snapcaster Bolt, we could be in trouble. Hit us for 7, we go to 12. Untap and draw Solitary Confinement. So play Sterling Grove. Okay, our enchantments now have Shroud. Add a bunch of green. Play Destiny Spinner, which may get countered. Yep. Then add red and play Blood Moon. Pass the turn. We need to get this Solitary Confinement down and quickly, but we kind of need to not die to Murktide Regent. So I think what this means is we have to sack Sterling Grove and get on Thin Ice. Draw on Thin Ice. Enchant the Snow-Covered Forest. Unless, of course, my opponent has a counterspell. Which they do. Alright. So I think versus this opponent, what we're going to want is Veil of Summer and Rest in Peace. Possibly Emrakul, but I think it's unlikely that Sanctum Weaver stays alive because they play a whole bunch of bolts. Blood Moon does not actually do a lot. They have a lot of basic islands. They're not playing 3 colors. And I think I can get rid of 1 O-Ring. We'll try it like this. Alright, we'll play first. This hand seems okay. We'll keep. Kind of wish I had a basic forest to put this Utopia Sprawl on, but... Utopia Sprawl. Name green. Pass the turn. So we're going to play Enchantress's Presence first. Opponent plays Polluted Delta. We untap and draw Sterling Grove. Play Enchantress's Presence. Opponent cracks Polluted Delta for an island and opts. They may force this. They do not. Opponent untaps. They play Polluted Delta and pass. We draw Veil of Summer. Alright, we're really going to be telegraphing this, but we draw Rest in Peace. They fetch up an island. We Veil. They force Veil, okay. Pitching Opt. We lose Sithis, pass the turn. Opponent's still playing around Blood Moon, but we've taken Blood Moon out. They play Spirebluff Canal. We untap and draw Prismatic Vista. So play Prismatic Vista. Play Sterling Grove, draw a card. We draw land. Crack Prismatic Vista, get a forest. We can either play Oromancy or we can play Rest in Peace. I think we play Rest in Peace. We draw an Abundant Growth, exile the Graves. Opponent untaps. They play a Scalding Tarn, we untap. We draw another Abundant Growth. So Abundant Growth, a land. We draw a Stomping Ground. Then we draw Prismatic Vista. Play Prismatic Vista, crack Prismatic Vista. Get a forest. Play Oromancy. We draw on Thin Ice. And I'll... Yeah, I think I just draw. There's some, like, maybe I should sack Sterling Grove situation going on there, but I think just drawing cards there is fine because of the mana that I had left. I don't want to give up Shroud on my enchantments, if at all possible. If I get Cyclonic Rifted, that would suck. So, play Windswept Teeth. Play Destiny Spinner. We draw Banishing Light. I want to crack Scalding Tarn for an island. Make Cryptic, counter draw. Okay. Pass the turn. Opponent fetches up a Steam Vents tapped. They draw. They play a Scalding Tarn. Sack Windswept Teeth. Get a Plains. Untap. We draw a Forest. Play Windswept Teeth. Pass the turn. I think I just hold on to these Oblivion Rings. Maybe I should have brought in Leyline. Just to stop, like, bolts. I'm not sure about that. I'll be really annoyed if my opponent has Cyclonic Rift. Like, really annoyed. We untap. We draw Sanctum Weaver. So, play the Weaver. We draw land again. Play Temple Garden, tapped. Pass the turn. Really still don't want to give up on this Sterling Grove. Opponent plays a Flooded Strand. We have, like, all the mana in the universe now. Okay, now we get into Abundant Growth. Alright, another Sterling Grove is quite nice. That just lets us get whatever we want. Another Sanctum Weaver. We get a Hall of Heliod's Generosity, which doesn't do anything. Play the Sanctum Weaver. Play Windswept Teeth. Yeah, I guess Solitary Confinement Prison or that Destiny Weavers are really our only way to win. Opponent cracks Flooded Strand. They untap. They draw. They pass. We untap. We draw another Enchantress's Presence. So cast it. Draw Veil. I play another fetch land here. So we really just need to resolve a Destiny Weaver. Opponent draws cards. They untap. Then they pass. Sack a Sterling Grove. Get a Destiny Spinner. We draw a Destiny Spinner. Play a Forest. Play Destiny Spinner. Draw cards. Opponent's got a Spell Snare. Then we Veil. So we can actually let this go through. Yeah, I needed to bring in Emrakul for this matchup for this reason. Sack Sterling Grove. Everything still has Shroud except Greater Oromancy. Get a Destiny Spinner. Tap for a whole bunch of green. Draw another one. Play another one. A whole bunch more cards. Now it's time to see if I can draw the last one in my deck, which I should be able to, because I can actually hard tutor for it. So, sack Sterling Grove. Let's get our last Destiny Spinner. Then we Utopia Sprawl, draw 3 more cards, play Utopia Sprawl, name white, play Destiny Spinner, draw 3 more cards, float a Kajillion green, animate a land, animate a land, animate a land, and okay, this is actually fine. Go to combat, attack for a lot, just a metric a lot, kill our opponent. Nice. Okay, yeah, we definitely need Emrakul. We cannot be in a situation where we have no way to win the game. Oh, yeah, alright. What do I take out? It might be Banishing Light, but I'm paranoid about taking that out for some reason. Could we run 61? I think we could potentially run 61. Well, let's try it. It's a little risky, but there's a pretty high payoff. I'm going to start Spire Bluff Canal. We untap, draw Utopia Sprawl. Shock Stomping Ground, Utopia Sprawl here. Name white. Pass the turn. So, weird situation you may find yourself in at some point. If you Archmage's Charm a Utopia Sprawl and your opponent taps that land, they add a color of that mana at that time. Not sure when or if that's relevant, but maybe? Shock a Temple Garden. And I would really like to play Enchantress's Presence, but the right choice might be Destiny Spinner into Utopia Sprawl. Let's play the Presence. I think my opponent has to counter this because it draws so many cards. Literally all of them. Okay. There's the counter spell. They untap. They play a Flooded Strand and they pass. We untap. We draw another Destiny Spinner. Play Hall of Heliod's Generosity. Play the Spinner. Play an uncounterable Spinner. So I guess if they have Bolt Counterspell, they don't. They probably just have Bolt, Snap, Bolt, actually. Shock Steam Vents. Braid. Bolt. They untap. Then they pass. We untap. We draw Rest in Peace, which I don't think I'm going to cast. I think I'm going to Hall of Heliod's Generosity and put Enchantress's Presence on top. Opponent is going to Snapcaster, Thought Scour, which is why I didn't do this immediately. They Thought Scour themselves. They untap and draw. They play Polluted Delta. They're going to hit us for 2. We go to 14. They crack Polluted Delta. And they're casting something else. Murktide Regent. Alright. So let's put Enchantress's Presence on top. I tapped incorrectly. I should have faked that I had a Veil of Summer, but I did not. We untap. They're going to Thought Scour us. Okay. We draw Windswept Teeth. Thank God. Play Windswept Teeth. Crack Windswept Teeth. Get a Snow-Covered Plains. On Thin Ice. Exile Murktide Regent so we don't die instantly. Pass the turn, I think? Yeah, we pass the turn. We really want this Enchantress's Presence. And possibly a Destiny Spinner. Opponent Thought Scours themselves. Yeah, glad we didn't activate it main phase. They untap. They draw a card. They go to combat. They're going to hit us for 2. We go to 11. Put Presence on top. Untap. We draw. Presence. That's not what I wanted. Although I don't think I can tap any other way. Yeah, okay. Play Presence. Snapcaster Mage for Counterspell. I guess I could have tried to play Rest in Peace first, but... On Thin Ice, get rid of a Snapcaster. So we still have a longer clock, technically. Play Utopia Sprawl. So a little more mana. We'll name green. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They draw. They play a Scalding Tarn. They hit us for 2. We go to 9. Untap. We draw a Forest. Play a Forest. Pass the turn. Opponent cracks a Scalding Tarn for an island. You're going to Cryptic Command this land. So we're going to get back both Snapcaster and Murktide. That's going to be game. Because I can get Lightning Bolt off the Snapcaster this turn. Because I didn't play Rest in Peace. Oh well, that was close. I definitely bungled that last game, but I still don't really know what I'm doing. I'll see you guys in round 3. Alright, round 3, and I think I can keep this. Ah, Affinity. I suspect we have a good matchup against Affinity. So let's fetch up a Snow Forest. Utopia Sprawl this on white. Pass the turn. I'd like a 1-mana enchantment here, I think would be ideal. They hit us for 1 because they don't have a particularly fast hand. Okay, we untap and draw Sterling Grove. Play Prismatic Vista, play Sithis. Pass the turn. Sanctum Weaver might technically be higher power, but... or I guess more potential explosive, but... Opponent plays a Sojourner's Companion. I'm gonna go ahead and fetch a green source here. Get a Sanctum Weaver. Play Sanctum Weaver. Okay, we draw Sterling Grove, pass the turn. Well, in theory, we're going to cast a bunch of stuff next turn. Opponent plays a Ravager. So I think this turn we're going to have to... Solitary Confinement? Hang on. Can they kill us if I don't block? They can sack 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't think it's lethal. Okay. They didn't go for it, so I didn't have to math. Okay, we draw a forest. So white-green, play Sterling Grove, which draws us a card and recoups us a mana off of Sanctum Weaver. Play Snow-Covered Forest. Tap for white. Play a redundant Sterling Grove. We get an Enchantress's Presence. Then we play Solitary Confinement. And then what does our opponent do? Pass the turn. Alright, opponent untaps. Plays an Ink Moth. Plays a Cranial Plating. Equips Ornithopter. Does nothing. We untap. We got a discard. Discard Sithis. We do not draw because we skip our draw step. Play Prismatic Vista. Fetch. Get white. Play Enchantress's Presence. Draw a card. Another Enchantress's Presence. Play Sanctum Weaver. Add a bunch of green. Draw more cards. Utopia Sprawl, draw more cards. Pass the turn. Discard Prismatic Vista to hand size. Opponent untaps. They play a tap land. They animate Ink Moth. They equip it with plating. They go to combat. Hit us for 12. We prevent all damage. We untap. Discard Temple Garden. Now I could sack Sterling Grove here, I guess. Yeah, let's go ahead and add a bunch of green. Sack Sterling Grove. Put Destiny Spinner on top. Play Sterling Grove. Draw Destiny Spinner and 2 other cards. Play Destiny Spinner. Draw more cards. Play Utopia Sprawl because it's mana neutral. I don't really need to do this that badly. We'll say white, I guess. Okay, hang on. So then we add white mana on Thin Ice. Exile here. Just prevent trickery. They're sacking their Ornithopters. I'm pretty sure they're dead this turn. Okay, they stack all their counters on Frogmite. So we play Oblivion Ring. Get the Frogmite. On Thin Ice. Get their guy, which is the only legal target. We just animate a land. Animate a land. And animate a land. Go to combat. And the game is over. Works for me. Alright, versus our opponent. Seal of Primordium. Stony Silence. Do we need anything else? I don't think we need anything else. What else does Affinity play? Let's see if there's any deck lists recently. Disenchant? Like, there's not a lot they can do to us. Okay, so what do we take out here? I think Blood Moon's too slow. We just give all our stuff Shroud and play Solitary Confinement, and what do they do? Like, this hand is almost amazing. It's just missing green mana. But without a way to guarantee we draw it, I think I get a mulligan. This is fine. Utopia Sprawl is higher power level than Abundant Growth. So I'm going to put that back, because I know I'm going to have to on Thin Ice something. Yep, opponent starts tap land, 0-drop. We untap. Draw Hall of Heliod's Generosity. Play Utopia Sprawl. Name white. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play Darksteel Citadel. And Ravager. And Frogmite. And Frogmite. They hit us for 1. We go to 19. Untap. We draw Solitary Confinement. Play Sithis. Fetch up a basic Plains. On Thin Ice. Gain a life and draw. Draw Destiny Spinner. Take out Ravager, which they can just stack onto a Frogmite or something. Yep. Memnite, now a 2/2. Memnite with a gun. Alright, opponent attacks for 6. That's fine. No blocks. I do not have double green mana, which is... Well, never mind, I do. So, play Hall of Heliod's Generosity. Play Abundant Growth on here. Play Sanctum Weaver? Which draws us another Sanctum Weaver. Pass the turn. They attack us for 8. No blocks. We go to 7. They play Glimmer Void. We untap. Draw Seal of Primordium, which doesn't really do anything. So, Shock Temple Garden. Play Stony Silence. Gain life and draw. Enchantress's Presence. Play Enchantress's Presence, draw a card. I would really like to find Sterling Grove, if I can. Abundant Growth, now Ancestral Recall. Oh, my opponent can't tap any of their lands for mana, so they can't even disenchant right now. We're probably safe enough? Question mark. So play Destiny Spinner in case they have like a Spell Pierce or a Force of Negation. Then play Solitary Confinement. Then pass the turn. Well, the artifact lands did make Stony Silence better. If my opponent has Nature's Claim... Oh, they have Wear and Tear. Alright, well, that is bad. The good news is we're probably still fine. Opponent attacks us for 2 with protection from all colors. They only have 1 mana. We go to 8. We untap and draw another Sithis. Play a forest. Utopia Sprawl. Name white. On Thin Ice. Draw more. Exile a creature. Play Sterling Grove. Draw more cards. I mean, drawing this many cards is really fun. For me, not my opponent. I could always Hall of Heliod's Generosity, put Solitary Confinement on top of my deck if I was really worried. I guess I will play Seal of Primordium. Kill a Frogmite. I should have left 2 mana open. I didn't think about that. I probably could have killed them this turn. Play a Sanctum Weaver. And then I guess we'll On Thin Ice again. Oh, I can't. I can't. Well, I can, but I mean, what are they going to do, right? Pass the turn. Discard, fetch land, redundant Sithis, Enchantress's Presence. Alright, opponent untaps. They draw a card. Yep, they concede. We were literally just going to animate all of our lands. Alright, well we're 2-1, and I still don't know what we're doing, so cast Enchantments, win the game. See you guys in round 4. Alright, round 4. We're against a Yorion deck, and I don't think this hand is actually that good. This might be, potentially, although we don't have red mana for these Blood Moons. I'm going to try keeping this off of 1 Sithis. Alright, opponent starts Blooming Marsh, Thoughtseize. So whatever our opponent likes the least, they can take. Probably Sithis, honestly. I mean, unless they have just no way to deal with a Blood Moon. Apparently they have no way to deal with a Blood Moon. Lead on Temple Garden, pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Plays a Godless Shrine untapped into a Douthie Voidwalker. Play a Snow-Covered Plains, because this has to go immediately. Take out the Voidwalker. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. At least now we have 2 Enchantress effects, so unless they have 2 more pieces of hand hate, we're probably okay, at least resolving one of them. Opponent fetches up a Plains. Does it Vindicate? Vindicate would be really bad. Oh my god. Okay. I would put this in the general realm of bad for us. Pass the turn. Its opponent untaps, they play a forest. Fatal Push, Sithis. They hit us for 3. And then they play, or they put Yorion in their hand. Okay, we untap. We draw Banishing Light. Crack Prismatic Vista, let's get a forest. And play Enchantress's Presence. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They're going to attack us for 3. We go to 13. Opponent plays Sword, Fire, and Ice. We draw Sanctum Weaver. Let's Banishing Light. We draw another Sanctum Weaver. I think we take out the Voidwalker. Because as bad as Sword of Fire and Ice is, it doesn't give protection from colors that we actually have and can play. Destiny Spinner. Play Sithis. So if we draw a land here, we can just go crazy, but we didn't. Pass the turn. So opponent is holding Yorion, 2 unknowns. 1 unknown. Because they Fatal Push again. So here comes Yorion, or Batterskull, actually. Alright. We untap, we draw a Windswept Teeth, play a Windswept Teeth, crack a Windswept Teeth, get a Forest, play Sanctum Weaver, draw a card, Abundant Growth, play Sanctum Weaver, draw a card on Thin Ice, pass the turn. So opponent can equip Sword of Fire and Ice and shoot one Sanctum Weaver, but that still leaves us with a lot of mana. Ideally, we can find another Enchantress effect and then play Solitary Confinement this turn. We're getting Inquisitioned, so there goes Solitary Confinement. I'm pretty sure. There's some, I guess, rationale to maybe taking a Destiny Spinner, but Solitary Confinement, I think, presents a more immediate and intense loss of value for the opponent. Opponent equips the Germ token, attacks for 6. We'll take 6. They can shoot a Sanctum Weaver, and should. And they do. And they have a removal spell. Okay. We untap, we draw a Destiny Spinner. So play Abundant Growth, draw a card. Sterling Grove. Then draw a card. Another Presence. On Thin Ice to take out the token. Then Sterling Grove, draw Sithis, play Temple Garden, tapped. Okay, now that everything has Shroud, we can at least play Sithis and start gaining life a little bit. I kind of imagine my opponent plays Yorion here and flickers Batterskull. They could animate Shambling Vent and just equip Sword. That would take us to 2. So they crack Marsh Flats for a Swamp. They animate Shambling Vent. They equip Shambling Vent. They hit us for 4. Oh, they actually just kill us. I forgot that Sword actually pumps too. Okay. Alright. Well, we know what's happening. Yorion junk. We may want Prismatic Ending. It's going to be very difficult to have a creature stick on board. Maybe I don't want Prismatic Ending. I mean, it could hit like the Sword. It won't kill Batterskull unless we have a bunch of Abundant Growths. Maybe I want a Seal of Primordium and an Emrakul. Cutting 1 on Thin Ice and a Presence, I think. We'll try it like this. Alright, I'd like to play first. Sure. We'll keep. So start Wooded Foothills, pass the turn. We're probably going to fetch a Stomping Ground tapped. Okay, getting Inquisitioned. They take Blood Moon. I think I'm still fine getting Stomping Ground here. And I'm going to play a Temple Garden tapped and pass the turn. This does not play around a second piece of hand hate, but I don't know how likely it is that an 80 card deck has 2 of an 8 of, maybe. I'm doing this because I want to play Sithis and cast an enchantment in the same turn, so that I effectively use less resources. Opponent has a Stoneforge Mystic. Well, that's unfortunate. We untap, draw Sanctum Weaver, play a Forest, Abundant Growth to draw, play Sanctum Weaver, pass the turn. Maybe I should have played Sithis into Abundant Growth still there. I'm getting tired. It's actually really late for me. Opponent plays a land into a Tarmogoyf, then passes. We untap, we draw Enchantress's Presence, so play a Forest, play Sithis, Add green, play Enchantress's Presence, gain a life and draw. Opponent Fatal Pushes. Draw Sithis. Play Sithis. Draw. Another Enchantress's Presence. Alright, and we're off to the races. I think my opponent should have probably Fatal Pushed that Weaver, because it represents so much mana. My opponent playing and equipping a Sword of Feast and Famine here is going to be quite bad for us too, though. We're going to discard, I think, Prismatic Vista, but we're taking 7 and our opponent is untapping all their lands. Second Tarmogoyf. We untap, we draw Temple Garden, play a Plains, play Enchantress's Presence, draw some cards, we got nothing else to play, pass the turn. So I guess we gotta chump a Tarmogoyf here. This is gonna be slightly less than ideal. They put Yorion into their hand, play a land tapped, they attack with everybody. Block, chump, take 7, we discard a Temple Garden, they untap. So they can play Yorion and flicker Stoneforge. I mean, if we draw an enchantment and then do like a crazy enchantment draw chain into Solitary Confinement and Sterling Grove, we're fine. Which, it's not impossible. It's just not super likely. And maybe I shouldn't have blocked with Sithis there and just gone to 2 instead, but... Alright, well. Here goes nothing. So play Sithis, draw 2. Play on Thin Ice. Draw 3. Exile the equipped Tarmogoyf, I guess. Abundant Growth, draw 4. Add green, play Destiny Spinner. Draw 3. Okay. Play Sterling Grove. Give everything Shroud. Abundant Growth on a land. Draw 4. Come on, Solitary Confinement. Emrakul's a little premature here. Blood Moon. I don't think Blood Moon does it. I don't have any more cheap enchantments that could actually get me to where we need to be. I can Oblivion Ring their sword or their Goyf. Then even if they hit me with the sword, I don't think I die. Otherwise I could play 2 Sanctum Weaver. No, because I think I die if I don't do something here. Alright. Oblivion Ring. I got Sword of Fire and Ice. Oblivion Ring is going to exile the Tarmogoyf, because they can play and equip. If they have a land, they can equip both swords, so we just prevent as much damage as we can. Pass the turn. Discard all these fetch lands that we're not going to play. Probably a Blood Moon. Another fetch land. Enchantress's Presence. 1 Destiny Weaver. Is that enough? That's enough. Alright, cool. Opponent untaps. There is a non-zero chance we're dead. There's also a non-zero chance that we just hard cast Emrakul and win. Because then we animate all of our lands and attack alongside an annihilating Emrakul. It's really, like... Yeah, they printed several Enchantress effects into Modern all at once. And really good enchantment payoffs. But it's really this card that makes it work. Like, Sanctum Weaver really makes this deck work. Without a way to generate mana for each enchantment that you draw, this deck would not be very good at all. Opponent is frantically doing combat math. Okay, opponent equips Yorion, attacks us for 6. We go to 7. They put Batterskull into play. We discard Sithis. They then suit up the Batterskull and play out a sword. That's a good move. However, does it actually compete with a hard cast Emrakul? Yep. That's what happened. I mean, like, Leyline might be better than Blood Moon, just because it means that, like, our opponent can't disrupt our hand. Like, Blood Moon would actually be pretty decent against our opponent, because I don't think I've seen them play a basic yet. Maybe that's... I don't know. I guess let's try it with Leyline. Okay, I think this is a good hand. I will keep this hand. My opponent also kept 7. They play a Marsh Flats, they crack it. They get a Swamp. Every time. How? How do you do this? You play 20 extra cards. How do you do this? Opponent gets rid of On Thin Ice. Interesting. So Snow-Covered Forest, Utopia Sprawl, name white. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. I guess maybe without Sanctum Weaver, you'd have to do like a Nykthos build, or like a Garruk build with the like Trace of Abundance effects and stuff. Opponent plays Bob. Draw Stomping Ground. So Stomping Ground tapped. Play Sterling Grove. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They flip a Verdant Catacombs, and then draw a regular card. Opponent vindicates Sterling Grove, which I guess is good, because that means we're probably going to get to resolve our other stuff. Play Prismatic Vista. Crack Prismatic Vista, let's get a basic Plains. Play Sithis. Play Sanctum Weaver and draw a card, gain a life. We get an On Thin Ice, which is good. But it untaps, they flip a Windswept Heath, then they draw for turn. Man, I mean, like, Bob's got nothing on us drawing cards the way we are. We don't even have to pay life, we're gaining life along the way as we do, too. Although it requires our deck to be built in a very specific way, so Bob can just go into any deck, provided you're not playing 6 drops. Alright, what are they playing now? Engineered Explosives on 2. Alright. Draw Sithis. Play Wooded Foothills. Pass the turn. I'm going to wait until either A, they play a creature, or B, I draw a non-On Thin Ice enchantment. They play a Douthie Voidwalker and Tarmogoyf. On our upkeep, let's crack for a forest, then draw Destiny Spinner, play Sithis, play Destiny Spinner, draw a card, Temple Garden, play Temple Garden tapped, On Thin Ice, draw Enchantress's Presence, take out Tarmogoyf, pass the turn. We really just do assemble a critical mass of, I'm drawing a million cards. I think our deck might be bad versus like hyper fast combo, so if somebody brings back like Storm, like Gift Storm or something like that. I mean, we could sideboard for it, right? We could play things like Deafening Silence, but discard Prismatic Vista. Did I forget to play out that Prismatic Vista? Because if so, that was a godlike play around that sword. I think I may have just punted into an onside kick. Alright. Put a Prismatic Ending to kill Sithis. And they put Yorion in their hand. Alright, we untap. We draw Windswept Heath. I'm taking 5 next turn. Animate the planes. Go to combat. Hit them for 5. I'm going to hold this Enchantress's Presence in hand. Maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe I should have played it out this turn. But Play Windswept Heath, pass. Opponent untaps. We do not have enough mana to animate 2 lands, and we don't have enough enchantments to make 1 land lethal. So we need to draw more removal. Opponent plays a Verdant Catacomb, so they only have Yorion, plus whatever they can cycle into with Silent Clearing. When it goes to combat, they attack us for 5, take 5, go to 7. Oh, shoot, I should have played the land. Get rid of Enchantress's presence. Yep. Okay, never mind. Kano, you're not a genius. You're never a genius. You just regularly punt it. It's okay. The opponent plays Yorion. I imagine they flicker the Rogue to have another blocker. Like, just in case I have some weird way of killing 2 of their guys with 1 card. They flicker nothing. Crack Windswept Heath. Get a Temple Garden tapped. Okay, we untap. We draw Sithis, which we can make a 4/4, but we can't block the Shadow and we can't block the Flyer. Unless this has reach for some reason. It doesn't. Okay. Yep. Alright. I shouldn't have played out the land, but I don't think we could have survived there. If I had discarded the land instead of playing it, I would have had 6 mana instead of 7. So I could have played 3, played Sithis, and if I had an On Thin Ice on top, I would have been fine. In theory, I did not. Okay, yeah. So we were going to lose that one. We're 2-2. Let's see if we can get the treasure chest. I'll see you guys in round 5. Alright, we are on the draw for game 5, and I'm definitely keeping this hand. Alright. Opponent's turn 1. They lead on Island into a Ruin Crab. So this is looking like mill. Let's go ahead and On Thin Ice the Crab. Pass the turn. Bad news is we draw a ton of cards. Post board, the good news is we're in a much better place. This might be mono blue mill. It is not because they have Luris. Ah yes, the legendary Crabtron. Play Sithis, pass the turn. Opponent plays a Field of Ruin. And fields us. And a green mana. They push Sithis, then Archive Trap us, and we're basically dead. I'm gonna go ahead and concede. That was a very quick game. What I'm gonna do is we're gonna bring in Emrakul, and we're gonna bring in Ley Lines, and I think there is some merit to Rest in Peace, and there's also merit to Prismatic Ending. I think Blood Moon can come out. My opponent does play actually a lot of basics. Solitary Confinement giving a Shroud is actually less good, because some of their mill is non-targeted mill. Well, let's try it like this. I think mill is going to be an incredibly tough matchup for us to beat regardless. Alright, we'll play first. Almost. By almost, I mean no. This technically works, but I think we can still do better. Alright, I don't think I can very successfully go to 4. Let's try like this. Play Wooded Foothills, pass the turn. Let's go ahead and get a Temple Garden. I should have done that on my turn, actually, to minimize the chance they had an Archive Trap. Draw Sanctum Weaver. Fetch, get a Forest. Play the Weaver. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent plays an Island. They're casting Collective Brutality, duressing us, and killing Sanctum Weaver. We have nothing that can be duressed. Draw an On Thin Ice, pass the turn. We need to draw lands. Opponent plays Polluted Delta and passes. Draw plains. Play plains, play Enchantress's Presence. Opponent counters it. Pass to our opponent. Cracks their polluted delta for a watery grave. Yeah, if we were worried about mill, we could put Wheel of Sun and Moon in the sideboard, but we just, like, I don't think we're going to run into mill all that often. I'm surprised my opponent didn't cast Fractured Sanity. They cycled it instead. Maybe they really needed to hit a land and they're planning on holding up another counterspell. As in counterspell number 3 or Drown in the Loch, I suppose. Play Hall of Heliod's Generosity. Play Enchantress's Presence. Visions of Beyond. Opponent draws 3 cards, then passes. They play a crab. Play a fetch land, they mill us. They crack their fetch land. They get a water grave tapped and mill us. Crack their polluted delta. They mill us again. We untap. Let's put... I think I want a Sterling Grove on top of my deck. My opponent might mill in response. Or might mill before draw, I mean. We draw Sterling Grove. On thin ice, draw a card. If I draw Emrakul, I'm going to be so sad. Prismatic Vista. Okay, opponent drowns. Play Prismatic Vista, fetch. Get a forest. Pass. Opponent untaps. I did not see what my opponent did. Draw Oblivion Ring. Try the On Thin Ice plan again. Exile the crab. Play a forest. Play Sterling Grove. Alright, I'm back. Sorry I had to let the dogs out. And drawing extra cards here is kind of hazardous because we don't want to draw Emrakul. But, like, I kind of need to stick some of these things if I actually want to win. Opponent plays a Ruined Crab. Mills and they hit Emrakul. I mean, if they have a Surgical or an Extirpate, they can get rid of the Eldrazi, but they can't stop the shuffle in. Okay. Opponent plays a Luris. We untap. Draw Sithis. Play Sithis. Draw a card. And the game's over. Apparently that means we win for some reason. Not sure if our opponent can beat an Emrakul. Alright, I guess we run it back. No Leyline, but do have a lot of card draw. I don't want to mulligan a lot, so I'm going to keep this. I also apologize for like the complete lack of enthusiasm and energy right now. I'm just so supremely tired. Draw Sanctum Weaver, lead on Abundant Growth. Draw Leyline. Opponent plays Ruined Crab number 2 into a Watery Grave tapped, milling us for 6. We untap and draw Utopia Sprawl. So play Windswept Teeth, crack Windswept Teeth, get a forest, tap for green, play Utopia Sprawl, we get Archive Trapped, Utopia Sprawl on white, play Sithis, pass the turn, opponent untaps, they draw, they might just start picking up Obero and replaying it. Okay, they kill Sithis. They play a field. They mill us for 6. We untap. We draw Utopia Sprawl. Play Snow-Covered Plains. I'm going to play Leyline. It doesn't help versus the crabs at all, but helps if they get any hand hate or anything like that. They did not pick up Obero and replay it. We draw another Leyline. So let's On Thin Ice. Take out a crab. Utopia Sprawl, a snow-covered forest. Name green. Play Sanctum Weaver. Play Temple Garden tapped. I'll hold this Ley Line in hand as just a really expensive cantrip. Opponent pushes the Weaver, then passes. They untap and draw. We untap. Drawn on Thin Ice. So let's, on Thin Ice, take out the other crab. This might technically be working to their favor, because they may be trying to make us draw Emrakul at this point. Or they could just be mana screwed. I know by playing out that Temple Garden, I have turned on Field of Ruin, which will enable Archive Trap for them if they draw it. They play another field. They field Temple Garden, get a Plains. They get a Swamp. We untap. Draw Sprawl. I'm just going to hold this now. Pass the turn. Opponent draws. Island. We untap. Draw Stomping Ground, which I'm not going to play because Field of Ruin. Opponent plays a Flooded Strand. Then puts Lurrus into their hand. We untap. Draw Sanctum Weaver. Play Sanctum Weaver. Pass the turn. Opponent has a Fatal Push. They untap. So they're going to play Lurrus. They have nothing they can recycle. We untap. Draw Sterling Grove. Play Sterling Grove. Opponent has a counterspell. Play a Stomping Ground. Pass the turn. They're going to field us again. Okay, they are attacking. You're on Enchantress's Presence, so play it. They counter it. So they're trying not to mill us now. I've got the feeling that we shouldn't have actually exiled those crabs. They're just trying to beat us down with Lurrus. Or they could just be not drawing anything, right? Pass the turn. If I draw Emrakul, I have no hope of casting it. Field Temple Garden, we have nothing left to fetch. I think my only hope now to win is that they either mill Emrakul or we draw Destiny Spinner, because we don't have enough mana producing lands in the deck to actually play Emrakul at this point. They're not going to let me draw up to 7 and discard. Pretty sure. We're also dead in like 2 turns. There's Destiny Spinner. Play it. Animate a land. Go to combat. Attack for 8. Opponent takes 8 and goes to 24. Then Doomblade's Destiny Spinner. Actual Doomblade. Wow. I've not seen that in a while. We go to 3. Draw a Destiny Spinner. Play it. To leave the land on defense. Unless my opponent just has anything. Alright, they have Counterspell. That's game. Lurrus beats. Alright. This has been Enchantress in Modern. I hope you guys enjoyed. I don't really have a lot of intelligible feedback on this deck right now. I hope that whatever you've gleaned from my gameplay. I think this deck needs another win condition. It's not a bad game plan. It's just hard to resolve the enchantments in the most protected order. You have an enchantment that makes your other enchantments uncounterable. You have an enchantment or several that make them untargetable, but it is difficult to have them not be destroyed when they can be targeted, and it's difficult for them, or it's difficult to resolve them through a counterspell when they can be countered. So like it's kind of this which comes first sort of problem. Sanctum Weaver is very fragile but incredibly powerful. It dies to almost every single removal in the game, but it also generates enough mana to hardcast Embercool almost by itself. Playing a single spell for 4 mana and for 1 mana and drawing 5 cards felt pretty sweet, and I think the version of the deck that I'm playing is the more expensive version. There's a less expensive budget green-white version for about $140 if you wanted to play it on Moto. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. You're all wonderful human beings. Thanks for watching. I'm going to bed. Bye! Hey, just wanted to give a shout out to my patrons for the month of June. If you want to have your name show up in this list, there's a link to my Patreon down in the description below. Thank you all.